Okay. So what you're looking at now is my clean desktop basically, and then at the front and center of my screen I have this little toolbar here. This is the Pinnacle series for those of you that have never seen this before. It's this small little toolbar, it's a small application that gets installed onto your machine. And if you look at the toolbar, you notice along the bottom we have all these different tabs down here. Well, we call these tabs resources. And in a variety of different ways, these resources point at solving those problems around workflows, training, and support. We're going to go through several examples of each one. Let's start at a high level of just the names of each resource. So we've got here a search engine. We've got workflows, cheat sheets, videos, support and chat, learning paths, and then favorites and history. It's important to know up front, all of this is included in the Pinnacle series with the subscription. So you, your users, you'll get access to all this information in here. Now, the place I like to start as we get into a little bit deeper and deeper into Pinnacle is let's look at the number one way that people actually interact with the Pinnacle series. So let's bring up an example. I'm going to bring up Revit. And we're going to have Pinnacle series really side by side here. Now, normally I'd have Pinnacle over my second monitor, you know what most of us have nowadays, and I'd use it over there. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and obviously keep it front and center. Now, the most common way that people are going to utilize this is this scenario. I'm here working in a Revit or Civil 3D, whatever it may be, and I run into a problem. And I chew on this problem for a little while, I'm stuck on it. I'm going to go into the Pinnacle series and I'm going to search for the answer or the solution to my problem. So in this case, let's say I'm working on curtain walls and I wanted to search on that. Like any other search engine that we are really all accustomed to today, it's going to go through and search for these key terms that I keyed in here, and it's going to search through all of the content that's built here into the Pinnacle series. So if we look at the results, I'm going to see here at the top, I've brought to a video on adding and modifying curtain walls. Well, this video is actually 58 minutes long, so this is an in-depth training class on adding and modifying curtain walls. Well, depending on my situation, that might be great. You know, it might give me an in-depth, deep dive into this topic, and that might be great. But let's be honest, my situation was I'm in the middle of a project right now, which means I'm likely under a deadline because we always have these deadlines coming up on us. I don't have time for an hour-long video. Well, notice down below, well, here's a short 7-minute video on curtain walls, another one here in 9 minutes, and as I scroll through this, we're going to be brought to different information in video format, in workflow format, and cheat sheet format, and it's really just giving me the kind of the front-end way to find all of this content. Now, let's just say that this 9-minute video is the perfect one for me. I can go to that video. It's going to take me right over to the video's resource, and it's going to start playing for me that piece of content, that material. Now, what most users are going to do is they're going to pull Pinnacle again over to that second monitor. They're going to blow it up full screen so they can truly see this. They're going to listen to the instructor, and they're going to walk through this concept on their project so that they can be getting their work done as well as being helped at the same time. But like I said, that's the number one way that people utilize Pinnacle, but it's a search engine. We all nowadays understand what search engines are. I really want to spend the majority of my time today talking to you about, what do we mean by these workflows? What are these things? What are cheat sheets? What do we mean by learning paths? So let's go through all the other content in here. Just realize it's all front-ended by that search engine so you can find the information very, very quickly. Okay, so workflows. What do we mean by workflows? These are really step-by-step instructions to follow or to allow users to follow through best practice processes. So they're organized in a folder structure, as you can see here, and it's really important to understand at the high level what do we mean by a public folder and a custom folder. This is extremely important. So the public folder, this is content that we as well as Microdesk are creating, and we're making this content available to all of our customers around the world. And as you look through this folder structure here, you're going to see products that probably are kind of familiar to you, most of which are Autodesk products, such as 3ds Max Design, AutoCAD, Civil 3D Dynamo, Navisworks down here, Map 3D, Revit. I could name all of them. I don't need to today, but they're mostly around Autodesk products. But Bluebeam is actually sprinkled in there as well for some content in that. So again, we're making this content available to all of our customers around the world. But there's also a custom folder here, and the purpose for this folder is to allow each of our customers to come in and create their own internal content and share that internally within their firm. And let me explain it this way. In almost every firm that I've talked to, they have their way of doing things. It might be their standards that they want their users to follow. It might be their kind of procedures, their best practices. It's their way of doing things. This custom folder here gives you the ability to put in your way of doing things in this platform so that it's one, next to everything else in here, all the other learning and training material that's already provided, it's right next to all of that. And two, it's searchable, making it very easy for users to find it and know where to go to find these answers. Okay, so that's the organization behind it. Let's go through an example or two. So first example, we're going to go into the public folder. And for now, we're going to stay in the Revit world, but I'll jump around to the civil infrastructure world and a few other places just to hopefully get everybody that's engaged in this webinar that's across disciplines, understanding how Pinnacle can help them. But we're going to go to the Revit world, and I'm going to pick on this workflow called work sharing. Within Revit, there is a procedure called work sharing where you can set up the central model and share this model among many users. It's a relatively complex workflow, very powerful workflow that people need to follow every once in a while. Well, as a user, I can come in here and I can walk through this workflow step by step. And we're going to be giving you, the users, truly step-by-step instructions here, in text mostly. It's going to walk you through that process. But additionally to the text, as I skip forward here to step 4, we're also going to link the users to the right videos to watch at the right time. So imagine this scenario. I'm walking through this workflow, and right now, step 4, I need to create the central model. And it tells me exactly how to do that down below. Walk through that with me step by step by step. But everybody learns a little bit differently. So if I need more help, more information, I can click this link. And that's going to take me right over to that video's resource again, and it's going to play precisely the right video for me at the right time. So it knows what I'm stuck on because I'm following that best practice procedure, and it's going to train me immediately on that when I'm stuck or need further assistance. Now, just an FYI, these videos that we link into these workflows are usually around 5 minutes in length. We try to keep them nice and short while you're working on a project. We don't want to take up too much of your time training you on anything. But additionally, in these workflows, we can link people to all sorts of different things. So videos we saw, but you can also link to things like PDF documents, spreadsheets, Word documents, web pages, you really name it. We can link you to that information to use for various reasons. But above that, we even have a hook into the Autodesk technology itself. So when I come down here, I'm following through these instructions. At this stage, it's telling me that I need to launch the worksets command. If I click that link, it's actually going to go into Revit for me, and it's going to run that command. So we have this integration with Autodesk where we can actually run those commands, and we truly give the users a hot link, if you will, to run the right command at the right time. Now, the reasons behind that is pretty simple. There are thousands of commands within Revit and Civil 3D and AutoCAD and these various products. People just get lost sometimes. We're not trying to replace the ribbon by any means, but when people get lost, we're going to give them that shortcut link right there so they're more productive and more efficient through the process. Now, one last thing that I'll share with this workflow, I'm going to make the Pinnacle Series full screen, and we'll probably leave it full screen for the rest of the time. But notice also how we have this flowchart view. And this is an interactive flowchart that I can click on this and walk through the procedure here, and it gives me more of a visual aid to show me how this work actually gets accomplished through my organization, which can be color-coded by roles and different departments within your company. So let's take a quick step back here. I walked through so far just one example about work sharing within Revit, but a reminder, this public folder is full of great content on Autodesk best practices that you and your users can use really right out of the box. But for any of you that work for larger firms, that you have maybe 10, 15 or more users of the technology, this is when the custom folder can become very important to you. And this is, again, all about creating your internal way of doing things. So let's share one example here. And this example is, again, it's on the architecture side, but it's going to play true for any of you on the phone here. Um, this organization that created actually this example, they were having a problem. And the problem was their users weren't really following their standards. So when they were creating a project from scratch, a brand new project, creating it from scratch, you need to do things like set up your folder structure, create your drawing files or your Revit files, and you're going to select those from templates. Well, in this organization, people were always grabbing the wrong template files. So what this company did is they actually copied our project setup workflow. They copied that workflow and they added this little thing in here. They said, check with your BIM manager prior to selecting the template for this project. In other words, you need to get with your BIM manager or CAD manager, depending on the scenario, and he or she is going to select that template for you so that down the line this doesn't become a problem later. I like to share this example because it shows the ability that, one, all of these workflows in the public folder, you can copy these. You have the right to copy those, put them down here into the custom folder, and make just subtle changes or tweaks here or there to add in your way of doing things to make this even more valuable than the stock content that comes with Pinnacle. So one simple example here. One other example, a little bit outside of the box, is this workflow here called in processing for new employees. This organization had a big problem on onboarding new hires. And they actually leveraged the Pinnacle series to document their onboarding process. So when they hire a new person off the street, they go through this procedure here of 9 different processes, and it's all detailed in there of what that new person, that new employee has to go through to get onboarded into the organization. So that actually even takes it beyond just the picks and clicks inside of Revit, but also goes into just best practices in the firm in general. So I don't want to spend too much time today. The purpose of today is obviously a good overview of the Pinnacle series. So we're going to move on to the next topic here of cheat sheets. But before we do, quick recap of workflows. This is giving you the ability to follow through and give your users the ability to follow through best practice procedures to get their work done more efficiently with higher quality and following your way of doing work. Now, I got a question here already. It looks like a good question to answer right away, Bob, so I'm going to go ahead and answer this. So I'm going to read this out. Once you create a custom procedure, can you hide the public one that was copied and customized so that it can no longer be found or used by mistake? That's a fantastic question, Bob. It's actually a very common question that comes up. So let's use this example here before. We created, the organization here created this project setup workflow, and they copied it from our folder in there and made changes to it. Now we have a duplicate, right? We have a duplicate workflow, so people are searching through this, they might find the other one. Well, there's 2 things you can do. First off, you can turn off the public content, and you can go through this and turn off specific things in here so that there's no duplicates. But also, if you're creating a lot of custom content, you want that to take a higher precedent over the public content. So back here in the search engine, you can actually prioritize that the custom content gets ranked higher, and that shows up now first in the list before the public content. So there's 2 different methods, Bob, actually to answer that question. But yeah, good question, very important. Don't want to have duplicates in here because then users can be confused.